Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. Excuse me. My name is Chris Schad. I write for FanSided and Zone Coverage. My co-host for the week is Adam Patrick, managing editor for Under the Laces. And we do this right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, so you never miss an episode and we can spread the word to the masses. Before we get going, I want to say a big thank you to everyone, because our last episode with Matthew Collar at my last check had over 6,000 views. For context, our previous high was about 1.3 thousand. So a lot of excitement about the Vikings, and that's what makes this podcast fun. We also have a ton of new subscribers. We're over 1.3 thousand subscribers right now. So if you've been along for the ride, thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're glad to have you aboard. And Adam, do you have anything to say to our new audience now that we got some more people on board here?
Oh, just quick clarification. I'm still the editor of the Viking Age. I'm not
Okay.
permanently switching over to Under the Laces. I'll be back in full swing probably by training camp, but just helping out with some other stuff during the slow off season for the Vikings. Hopefully slow. Thanks for everyone for checking us out. We've been doing this for a while. We like to talk about the Vikings, maybe dabble in a little bit of wrestling here and there, maybe mix both together, since Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns also have ties to the Vikings. So if you're not a fan of that, oh well. If you are, then you'll enjoy it. But welcome to all the new listeners and viewers. We're happy to have you for sure.
Priority A, give Vikings fans something entertaining.
Yep.
Priority B, turn everybody into pro wrestling fans.
Yep.
That is our two priorities.
It's all connected.
All part of the plan right here. So of course, more eyes and more ears means more comments. And for the first time, I ventured into the comments, and some of them were actually really nice, which was fun. Like Gary's like, "Oh, my two favorite hosts." I'm like, "Sweet." I don't know what that means for you, Adam, but at least I got some brownie points from some people out there on the internet.
50% is good.
Yes, exactly. So I went through the comments and I just kind of pulled a couple of things that caught my eye. The pulse of the fan base, as we're about 3 weeks away from training camp. And the first one that I wanted to highlight was one from a user, Lazy Television. And now too, I try to stay away from, unless it's talking about the Wild on Twitter, I try to stay away from people who are clearly like trolling and going on there. But some of them are actually legit conversations that we can have. So I wanted to highlight this because this was his initial comment. I feel like you never get a real answer from Vikings fan or analysts when it comes to McCarthy's performance. How does he look compared to Darnold? How does he look in the pocket? A lot of his highlights on X look like he's not seeing blitz packages and would be sacked in real games. It's always he's really positive and has great leadership qualities. Nobody in Minnesota talks about the negatives. So I'll ask you, Adam, are we being too positive about JJ McCarthy during minicamp? We need more info.
I think it's the time of year. I think it's May and June. It's minicamp. Everyone's looking good in shorts. Pretty much just about every fan base is probably looking forward to training camp and the season, minus a few, Saints. Browns fans are probably even excited because of Shadur and all that fun stuff. But it's the time of year to be optimistic. Everyone at this point in the year is undefeated. Everyone thinks their team can win the Super Bowl, whether they are a contender or they can fly under the radar and shock some people. But this is an optimistic time of year. Once we get into training camp and players like McCarthy start to go against, people in pads or other teams and joint practices, then the real stuff starts to come out, real worries. But also, like, I think you can look at the Vikings' actions this offseason and tell that they're optimistic about JJ McCarthy as well. They didn't pursue Aaron Rodgers. Yes, Kevin O'Connell did talk to him, but it was more of a, hey, you're my friend. I'll give you a couple minutes to get give us your pitch, and then I'll let you know that It's not going to happen. And then, Daniel Jones left because he knew that the Vikings' main priority for this year was to make JJ McCarthy the starter. And he wanted to go somewhere where he could be a starter again in Indianapolis, which looks like it's going to happen. Um, and then for Sam Darnold, they only offered him a 1 year deal because, again, JJ McCarthy is the priority for the Vikings to make him a starter. So I think you can take take away from those actions by the Vikings and come away that the Vikings are optimistic about JJ McCarthy. And just like the little tidbits of things that you read from the minicamp OTA reports from people that were there, don't really look at the specifics, whether it's touchdowns or interceptions or anything like that. Like, watch or listen and read about like his touch on the ball, his command of the offense, his on-field behavior, demeanor, like all that stuff is important this time of year. When we get to training camp and preseason, that's when like the X's and O's and numbers really start to matter. So everything we've seen and heard about McCarthy, yes, has been positive. And the Vikings are also going to make sure that that is going to be the case because he's a young quarterback. And yes, he's been in big situations and stuff like that before, but you don't want to rattle his confidence before he even gets on the field for the Vikings. So I'm sorry if it's too positive. I know this is the Vikings where, the sky eventually does fall every year, but let's just enjoy this for what it is right now and maybe be a little positive going into the season.
I know. Well, first of all, Cleveland Browns, they take stats. They take quarterback OTA stats very seriously because we know completion, we know quarterback ratings and completion percentage. Don't have PFF grades. We're still waiting on that for
Yep.
Browns
Yep.
minicamp, but a lot of things going on there. No, I laughed at this comment and not like in a bad way, just kind of like a okay type of way. But and he, to his credit, he actually mentioned later, he's like, I just didn't like the fact that people just dismissed Darnold immediately. So maybe he's a Sam Darnold guy and he's like, hey, they should have kept Sam Darnold. Like, why didn't they keep Darnold? And why aren't people jumping on them? Darnold was a relative unknown. And I mean, if you watched this show this time last year, and I could be wrong, somebody could dig the quote out or whatever, but we said the whole time, hey, this is just a stopgap for McCarthy. Like, let Kevin O'Connell do his thing. Let's see what happens. And he came down with a 30 touchdown, 4,000 yard season, the Kirk Cousins special, as I like to call it. So, I mean, we don't know anything at this time of camp. And that's because mini camps are basically, like caller said, a 7-on-7 passing camp. They are designed for the offense to look good. There were some interceptions that were reported, maybe over reported by some outlets as well, because
Hall of Famers.
throw a interception 3 straight days when you've only practiced 2. That's a discouraging sign.
Impressive.
But why would you want to go 2018 Mike Zimmer and just light up your offense because you don't like the offensive coordinator, and light up the quarterback because you don't like him either, and the quarterback's throwing the football out of the highway and screaming frick and all of this stuff, and you're not going to figure stuff out during a spring practice. Like, you're not going to figure out pocket pressure because the play is whistled dead as soon as somebody gets near the quarterback. You're not going to know how he handles blitzes because they can't hit him. The offensive line play, we don't know anything about that because it's not full speed. They don't want those guys banging around in the middle of June unless your name is Mike Zimmer or you play football in the 70s or something.
You don't want the big meaty men, banging around out there.
Yeah, it is not the time for big meaty men slapping meat. That is for sure.
And the thing about interceptions, though, is like this time of year, I think people just take it for like black and white, where interceptions during the season, yeah, those are terrible. You don't want to do those. Interceptions in practice, in mini camp, training camp, you should be expecting your quarterback to throw interceptions because those are the times to take chances to see how far you can make a throw, see how far you can thread the needle or whatever. Like, if you're not throwing interceptions in practice, then you're probably being too safe. And if McCarthy's throwing it like 50 interceptions, yeah, okay, it's a problem. But a handful here, during all his throws, I think that's okay. I would rather have that than him throw 0.
And take risks.
Yeah.
Like try shit out. Like Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, he was always, we joke about this. This is like the Step Brothers scene where the talent show where his brother makes fun of him because in the middle of it, I'm not going to repeat what was said, but like, Kirk flashes back to that game against Notre Dame, like, too risky, can't throw it. Kevin O'Connell's like, dude, just throw it, man. It's not a real game. Like, let's see what you can get away with here. Like, that's the type of thing JJ McCarthy is doing right now. And, look around the league. Like, the same thing is going on in Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr. And I don't know if it's because he played 3 regular season games. He looked average in those games, by the way, but nobody's questioning Michael Penix Jr. coming into the season. It's just, get rid of Kirk, trade him away.
Drake May too. I've read some stuff where he's thrown a bunch of interceptions in practice, and people are still like, "Oh, he's gonna have a great second year." It's like, okay, well,
we've seen him suck on the field. There's a difference here. Like, there's still something there.
He's got Stephon Diggs to throw to, whether he's there or on a boat or not. But he's expected to be there, I guess.
Stephon Diggs will feel like he's there, without actually being there.
Yeah,
just like.
Running
in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, just like, I got it.
Yeah,
it's like, no, you're gonna fall into the water. What are you doing?
He might be a little enhanced. Yes, those times.
Here's the thing: enjoy the season, like Mike Tyson said. Like, enjoy, like, watch the highlight videos. You don't have to watch every highlight video and be like, well, that was a cover 2 look, and they had 13 personnel on the field. Like, stop that. Like, we don't need to do that right now. Now, in the training, I'm sure people will go to training camp and they'll film everything. Anytime people leave the house, they have to film everything that happens in front of them. Though. Yeah, exactly. I just throw it in an interrogation room at TCO Performance Center. Kevin O'Connell, you're just tied up, and Kevin O'Connell walks in like, all right, yeah, there's situations and outcomes. We can't have you filming the practice. And, he just bores you to death for 3 hours by like talking.
Your phone for a game ball.
Yes. Here's this game ball, and it just says stop fucking filming.
It's like the interrogation for Tom Brady during Deflategate when he just smashed his phone against the wall.
Yes. I didn't do it.
I was gonna ask you though, like, if JJ McCarthy was healthy last year, does Sam Darnold play the whole year? Does he even have that good of a season? Because your buddy over at Zone Coverage, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, Tom Schreier, I think he wrote about like that Jacksonville game where Darnold played like hot garbage. Do we see JJ McCarthy the next week and take over as a starter if he's healthy?
So I was listening, another shout out to Matthew Collar's podcast, but I was listening to him this afternoon, and they had a guest on there. Like, JJ McCarthy needed not only to like fill in mentally, he probably wasn't ready physically for a full. And I mean, there was the picture of him Detroit where he looked like a high school hockey player, but I also think like before that, he's pretty skinny.
Yep.
Like, not in a bad way, just kind of, he was lean. That's a better way to put it. Like, he looked lean in that preseason game. He didn't quite look like an NFL quarterback. Now he's kind of got some muscle. He's got some padding to kind of take the beating. Do I think he goes in at some point? Maybe.
He wouldn't have been skinny though in the middle of the season.
I know, but if Darnold, I don't know.
Because look, Jane Daniels,
like the Jacksonville game's like a weird thing. Like, what would they have done? It's a great question.
I think they would have probably started JJ the week after. What was the game? Was the Colts game the week after? Sunday night?
No, because it was Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Chicago. So it would have been the Tennessee game he would have gotten his first start.
Yeah,
and that's really when they started taking off.
Yeah.
Like, the Tennessee game was when it was like, all right, here we go. We're heading towards something. Yeah, because I guess at that point, you didn't look at the Vikings like, oh, they're contenders. Like, oh, they started 5-0 and now they're kind of just an average team. And then the Tennessee game happened and they kind of stacked things together and they wound up 14-3. Like, maybe that was early enough, like before Sam Darnold really got hot, that you said, okay, We're going to go to McCarthy. We're going to see what happens. Maybe your wild card team on the road. Because I think he could have like ran the offense, but I don't think you're going 14-3 if JJ McCarthy goes in, which is not a knock on McCarthy. I don't want anybody to say, oh my God, he doesn't believe in McCarthy. They would have let him just stop. So,
but I don't think the intention of last season at all was to go to 14-3, even with Darnold in there. Obviously, they want to win as many games as possible, and they rolled with it. But I don't think going into the season they were like, all right, our goal is to at least make the NFC Championship this year. I think their goal was to like develop JJ McCarthy, whether that was on the field or off the field or whatever they had to do. Obviously, now Kwesi and KOC are going to be like, oh, the plan was always to just start Darnold the whole year and sit McCarthy, and it's like, oh, really? We've seen those looks on KOC's face where he's just like, Josh Dobbs is playing terrible, and he's like, okay, Nick Mullins, you just got to go in because I'm gonna murder Josh Dobbs if he throws another hospital ball to, JJ McCarthy or whatever, or Justin Jefferson. Yeah,
if he threw one to JJ McCarthy,
that'd
that'd
be
pretty
interesting.
troubling.
Yeah, that'd be a good.
Yeah.
That'd be that's a Ben Johnson play, but yeah.
Like, what if we had 3 quarterbacks on the field? We're gonna have a quarterback snap the ball.
I think I saw a clip of like Caleb Williams catching a pass or whatever in minicamp, and Bears fans like freaking out. I'm like, how about him throwing and not getting sacked? How about we get excited about that and not him catching passes? Because Ben Johnson can draw up trick plays.
It's gonna be a lot of fun when no offense to the Bears. Actually, it might be all the offense to the Bears, but it'd be pretty fun to see Ben Johnson try and run a trick play with all needs a chaos or whatever.
Well, Andrew Van Ginkel breathing down, his neck or whatever.
Ain't no Dan Skipper in Chicago, guys.
No,
not at all. Let's go to another comment that caught my eye. This is from LJ View on YouTube. He said, we're not going to know until we're in the wild card, and either he's going to be a deer in the headlights like Darnold, or if he's going to be poised like Hurts in the Super Bowl. Of course, this is talking about McCarthy, whether he's legit or not. That's how I measure a championship window. Should have signed Rodgers.
When's the last time Rodgers won a playoff game?
Yeah. I can look that up. Yeah, 2021. Because 2020 was MVP season, and then 2021 was
pooped the bed in the NFC Championship against the Niners.
And he hasn't been back since to the playoffs.
So this person is saying that had Sam Darnold gone into LA last year and then the following week beat the Lions, then he wouldn't have thought he was for real after those 2 games in the middle of the season that they lost. If those were the opposite, then he would have still been like, oh, gotta wait for the wild card. I guess you could think that way, but I feel like there's certain points in the season where that present you with opportunities to prove that you can play on a big stage. I feel like the first game of the year, Monday night against the Bears on the road, that's a huge stage. Everyone's going to be watching. Like that's everyone. That's probably one of the few weeks, like the first couple of weeks, everyone watches Monday Night Football because pretty much every team is still in it or whatever, and you want to see like all the new players and stuff, regardless if it's your team or not. So like a lot of people are going to be watching that game. So that's going to be a big stage, and I think like that could be a big opportunity for JJ McCarthy to just have like a coming out party. And if he doesn't, oh well. But like there's going to be more opportunities during the season before you get to the playoffs where McCarthy can prove that he can come up big in big situations and play well against good teams. So I understand the mentality that we're not going to find out who he really is until the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure Peyton Manning was like 0-4 in his first like 4 playoff games, and he turned out to be pretty good. So
that he did. I'm kind of guilty of this because I act this way with the Minnesota Wild. Like, oh yeah, we beat a whole bunch of Eastern Conference teams. Okay, what happens when you play the teams that you have to beat in the NHL playoffs?
Yep.
Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg. Can you beat those teams? Oh, you can't? Oh, you just blew another 2-1 lead in the playoffs. Like, that's what I say. But a lot of people are like, you need to enjoy the ride. What's wrong with you?
So why is it like that for that fan base? But then Vikings are like Super Bowl or bust.
I think it's more concentrated.
It's a bigger
you have
fan base too.
16, 17 games. And, I mean, a loss is like freak out mode, but a win's like, dopamine. But, for the Wild, it's like you have 82 games. So it's like, if you do have a clunker on a Sunday afternoon against, trying to think of a shitty
Anaheim.
Eastern Conference team. Anaheim, yeah, sure, Anaheim. Anaheim's in the Western Conference, but I mean they're not a great team. Like you show against Anaheim, it's like, whoa, we'll be ready when Dallas comes to town. It's like, no, you won't. Like, well, this will be the year nobody gets hurt. The Wild are an entirely different discussion for me, and I'm going to stop there. Maybe I will rant about the Wild a little bit later. I don't know, but the main thing I wanted to ask here then is, what would the Vikings look like if they had signed Aaron Rodgers? Because my opinion is that they would be really fucking old right now. Like 2021 Vikings old. Like, hey, let's just save our job, guys. Let's
they were old
try and
last
kick
year.
the ball forward. What's that?
They were old last. They had one of the oldest rosters last year. Because Harrison
The
Smith
Vikings did,
and
yes.
Stephon Gilmore kind of like tipped that over the scales because they're just way up there. But yeah, if Aaron Rodgers
How about this? Old and ineffective.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
I never wanted anything to do with Aaron Rodgers at all. Like, I don't think, good for the Steelers, whatever. You got a better quarterback than Mason Rudolph. I don't know how much better he is. I don't think whatever amount of performance he gives you is worth the headache that he's probably going to give you off the field as well, especially at this point in his career. And I just don't. I mean, obviously, O'Connell probably would have got the most out of Aaron Rodgers, but I feel like they already made that commitment last year they traded up and drafted JJ McCarthy. Okay, that's the plan. We're going to build around him. We're going to take advantage of his rookie contract, which they have done. So they've had a plan, and I feel like just because Aaron Rodgers becomes available after a terrible year with the Jets, I don't care what his stats say. He had, like, efficiency wise, he was terrible, and look at the record; they were awful. So, like, adding Rodgers just because he's available, there was a reason why the Steelers were able to wait until June to sign him, because nobody else wanted him. If he was that good, if he was the Aaron Rodgers that everyone's still, he's got one more good year in him, then he would have been signed in March. So, like, I think that says a lot about how a lot of people in the league view him. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, no thanks. And then you would have had, maybe it would be the Vikings making all these random trades for Johnny Smith and Jalen Ramsey to go all in for this 1 year to go 9-8. Like, what they're doing, I've seen people, what the Steelers are doing right now, I've seen people compare to like the Eagles from 2011, I think, or whatever. But I thought of
Dream team, right?
I thought of the 2018 Vikings with Kirk Cousins, Sheldon Richardson, a couple other people in there. Like, they were going all in that year. So yeah, no. I'm very happy that they do not have Aaron Rodgers on their roster.
Like, they are the 2022 Vikings if they decided to, like, just forge ahead, right? Because you go 13-4, you lose that 4th and 8 game where Cousins checked down, and
whoa.
oh yeah, he checked down. I was there, dude. Like, I don't even want to. Like, that is still the most cowardly play of the Kirk Cousins era. I know he lined up behind the freaking right guard one time. Like, he was so flustered he couldn't do that. But, like, that was such crap. The whole year he's just like, I'm Kirko, Chains, YOLO. I throw it down the field. It's like, Justin was double covered, and I couldn't really see.
He wasn't.
Oh, fuck you.
I didn't want to get an interception on 4th down
with the season on the line.
We're not mad about that still. Don't worry. We're not.
Oh, that was a rough night for me, because there was like we left that game and it was really icy. So like there was a patch of ice, and like I was carrying my cooler and I hit the ice, and my shoes were a little old, so they didn't have really good traction. I literally went like ass over tea kettles, like feet above my head and just right down on my head. And I remember everybody around just going, oh, yeah. Like, ooh.
Black ice?
Yeah, it was black ice. There was a lot of black ice on the way back home from Brookings too. I thought I was going in the ditch. It was that bad.
I don't miss that. I think I broke my elbow before on black ice. Just like landing on it and turn all black and blue like immediately after I did that a long time ago. That's why I don't live in New York anymore.
Yeah, that the next day I joked I had a concussion. It's a hangover and a concussion. It's a lot of fun. But I mean, the Steelers, they start 10-3. They lost their last 5 games, including their playoff game against the Ravens. And maybe a front office goes, hey, I don't think we're that good. But the Steelers were like, nah, let's go all in, man. Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, you are the problem. Let's go. You replaced George Pickens with DK Metcalf. You got older there. They threw themselves at Aaron Rodgers the same way that Aaron Rodgers wanted the Vikings to throw themselves at him. And then they trade Minkah Fitzpatrick, who had some baggage in the Steelers locker room, for Jalen Ramsey, who's a little bit older. Like, I know they feel like they're a better team. Oh, yeah, and TJ Watt is having a nasty contract dispute. So, I mean, that probably gets solved before the season, but you don't want him holding in because injury chances go up.
He didn't release a statement yet, like Myles Garrett said goodbye. And then was like, oh, wait, how much are you going to give me? Okay, I'll come back.
$40 million? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I can handle it. I love Cleveland. What are you talking about? They shouldn't have signed Rodgers because, I mean, he would have been pounding on the table for Ramsey and like Alan Lazard. And it's cowardly thinking to me. This whole conversation is just cowardly thinking because it's like, oh, I can't handle it if JJ McCarthy isn't good. And what are we going to do? You're going to be in position to draft Arch Manning. Or at least trade up for Arch Manning if you want to.
That's what Steelers fans want. Like, I've talked to a bunch of Steelers fans, and they want them to suck for a year so they can get a high draft pick and get a quarterback. They're tired of,
as they should,
9-8 and not. They haven't won a playoff game since like 2016.
Yeah, but they're this prestigious franchise. Like, they make the Packer fans look humble.
They are. They have won 5 Super Bowls, 5, 6. So
I say 6.
It is a successful franchise in terms of the entirety of it, which you could say the Vikings are too, except they didn't win a Super Bowl. But like and the Cowboys too are kind of similar because the Cowboys, I don't think they've gone to the NFC Championship since like 96, I want to say.
Yeah, when they last won the Super Bowl.
95, 96, yeah. So like it's very similar where like, yes, these teams are historically some of the greatest ever. But these last 20, 25 years, they're just, as the kids like to say these days, mid. Like, they're not.
You're cooked.
They're not good anymore. Like, and I think Steelers fans are just. I wouldn't be surprised, like, if Tomlin or management's gone to Tomlin and been like, "Hey, you can either stay here and we're gonna make all these moves, or you can just leave." And he's probably like, "All right, we'll just whatever. We'll see what we can do," because like. He's got to be frustrated too, like not winning playoff games. Yes, he's just led them to a Super Bowl in 2007 against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. That's like 15, 17 years ago. So the NFL is what have you done for me now league. So
2008 they won the Super Bowl. So
and that was the year after. Was that the year after Cowher left?
That was 3 years. So Cowher retired after winning it in 2005. They didn't make the playoffs in Tomlin's first season, but they went 8-8. Then they went 10-6, lost in the wild card round, and 12-4, and won the Super Bowl in 2008.
That's fair because a lot of people, I still hear a lot of people like, "Oh, he won with Cowher's roster." It's like 3 years after. I don't think so. That's kind of his doing.
Same quarterback, just a different. And I mean. Ben Roethlisberger, but the main thing is 2 or 3 years into his career.
No, the Vikings should have not signed Aaron Rodgers. It would have been a move that the Vikings have done previously over and over and over again the last 30 years, signing Randall Cunningham, Jeff George, Brett Favre, Donovan McNabb, Gus Frerotte, I guess to an extent, but he was a backup, but he came in and played well. Kirk Cousins. I know there's more. I can't think of him right now. Matt Castle, I guess you could throw in there. But like just these retread quarterbacks that the Vikings, instead of drafting and developing someone, they're just like they want that instant, hit of dopamine when they sign someone and they have the press conference and they get the fan base riled up. Like,
I'll point this out there. I wasn't against the first Kirk Cousins contract, like
no,
bringing him in. Like that was fine. I'm like, okay, we just went to the NFC Championship
that
game.
was better
Let's
than
see what happens.
Case Keenum, and
Yes.
it still proved to be better than bringing back Case Keenum because Keenum didn't do anything after that.
Unless you bring back Keenum and draft Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
But
we'll never. What
I
did
don't
Zimmer?
think Mike Zimmer would have
Did Zimmer?
went for
I
that
bet he
though.
wanted Teddy back. He
Yeah.
but the doctors were probably like, it's not a good idea.
This
He's
is
only
his leg.
he's
Oh,
he's only gonna be able to
sorry.
play for like 8 more years. Yeah, no. Yeah. Also, the Vikings doctors, I wouldn't listen to them anyway. So Sim should have probably just said whatever and just brought Teddy Bridgewater back anyways.
Hey Teddy, you want some donuts? Like,
Yeah.
what's in these donuts? I don't ask questions. The
Mm,
other thing I want to, when we were talking about the Ramsey trade, so Jair Alexander signs for the Ravens. He got cut by the
yep.
Packers and went to Baltimore to go play with Lamar. Ramsey goes to the Steelers. Should the Vikings have added another cornerback? Because it seems like out of all the things, that's the one area where it's like, I don't know about this group.
Oh yeah, that's definitely the group probably with the most question marks heading into the season. But it seems like the Vikings, well, they have Byron Murphy. Obviously they liked him and they re-signed him and he played really well last year. So they brought him back. So if they like him, it sounds like they really like Isaiah Rodgers. At least Brian Flores does. And I'm gonna trust Brian Flores as a talent evaluator. Like the guys he brought onto this defense just last year, Jonathan Grenard, Blake Cashman, Andrew Van Ginkel, even Shaq Griffin and Stephon Gilmore. Say what you will about them, like being past their prime or whatever, but they still were solid for the Vikings. And then now they're transitioning to Theo Jackson in the backfield, Isaiah Rodgers, Mekhi Blackman's coming back. Like there's a lot of question marks around the Vikings cornerbacks, like there is about the Vikings quarterback. Um, but I think it's a wait and see thing. I do think they should probably add someone else for depth because if one of those guys goes down, then you're really thin. Then you got like Dwight McLaughlin starting and or some other UDFA, and that's probably not ideal unless they're really good. But between the two, between Jair Alexander and Jalen Ramsey, I probably would have leaned more Alexander. Not only because it would have been fun to just sign a former Packer and a guy who like just we love to hate as Vikings fans, and he's on our side.
We do love that deep down, don't we?
Oh yeah,
Like Packer fans be like, oh, you signed another one of us. We're like, shut
because
up.
it's
Yeah, we
fun.
don't
Because
care.
they're
Then
like
deep down, we're like, oh, they're so bad.
right,
They're
because it's
so
like
bad.
it's that meme of like the smiley face on the outside, and it's like the tears on the inside of the Packers fan. But I would have done that because the Vikings wouldn't really had to give up any resources. Um, they wouldn't have had to trade any draft picks. Not that they, not that Quasey really probably needs any draft picks because doesn't do that great with them. Um, but I would have rather had them sign Jair Alexander over Ramsey. And saying that, I think Stephon Gilmore is still available, so he could possibly come back still for like training camp or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
I think they should just go into camp, see what they have. Kind of like they did last year, where it's like, all right, we need help, but let's see if these guys can figure it
Did they
out
sign Gilmore before or after Blackman got hurt?
after. Because
Okay.
Blackman got hurt first day of training camp, and then Gilmore just kind of waited out. And then after
You're like, shoot, now
the Browns game, they're like, yeah, bump our offer up. Let's get him
yeah,
in here.
they were like, now you know that we need a corner and we're gonna have to pay you. Okay, come on.
Yeah. And it was fine. I mean, it was
Yeah,
a 1-year contract. It wasn't like,
yeah,
they destroyed their future cap.
yeah,
It was just like, all right, we'll bring you in. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll pivot next year. So I like what I'm hearing about Rodgers in
yeah.
minicamp. More positive reports. Um, Blackman, he looked pretty good in his rookie season,
Yep.
before he got hurt. So he is 26. That makes me a little bit concerned, but we'll see what happens there. And then, you have Byron Murphy Jr. back, which I feel like we kind of forget sometimes that, Byron, it's like, who's the slot corner? Oh, we have Byron Murphy Jr. still.
Well, you can play outside too.
Exactly. And then you also have Jeff Okudah, who has
I forgot
gotten some positive reviews.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that'll work, but if he can be, kind of a run stuffing sub package kind of guy.
Expectations are very low for Jeff Okudah. Like,
the bar is low.
If he got cut before the season, I don't think people would be surprised. And if he, had a really solid season, I don't think people would be surprised either. So,
no,
a wide range of outcomes.
House money for Jeff Okudah.
Oh yeah.
So,
and those are the moves that Kwesi loves to make. Where like these guys have been counted out, and you bring them in, they can meet. They have the potential still. Sam Darnold. He was a bust. Bring him in, over 30 touchdowns. Okay, great.
And $100 million or whatever it was.
Yeah, that paid off pretty well. Now they get a comp pick for him and stuff. So yeah, like those are the types of moves that Kwesi loves to make. So yeah, there's questions about the cornerbacks, but I mean, it's so hard to have I feel like a deep roster in the NFL these days when you have so many guys getting paid so much, and then you have to figure out, if one of those guys gets hurt, then you got to rely on your depth, which is usually rookies or, journeymen or UDFAs. Like a lot of teams are in the same boat. If one position player gets hurt for a certain position, they're screwed. Like look at the Packers. Their cornerbacks. Who is their top cornerback?
Nate Hobbs, career slot corner.
Is Bo Melton top corner?
We turned a wide receiver into a corner, and now he's going to be CB1. Remember, Ty Montgomery was a receiver, and then they're like, "You're RB1 now," and it's like, I'm 6'2", 190.
The Vikings try and do that with somebody. I feel like
Cordero.
I was thinking that,
but I mean, I don't think they tried to go full running back because Norv Turner wanted him to run the bang 9 route or whatever it is.
I thought they had a receiver that they tried to move to corner and I couldn't remember.
To corner, Robert Tate.
But he made the team though, right?
Yeah, it was a super long time ago. Because
it was like 2000.
Yeah, because one of my friends tells me or has told me how much he hated Robert Tate.
that's
how that
very specific and very random.
Yeah, 2000 NFC Championship game. Just Robert Tate.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, I hate Robert Tate. Oh.
I mean, if somebody drops Robert Tate in a Vikings conversation, you know that they know their shit.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing worse to me like when somebody's like, yeah, I'm a Vikings fan. And then they like just say, yeah, well, I mean, I've been watching since like, you sent me a tweet and the kid, and I was like, I was crying my eyes out as an 11-year-old during the
2017 NFC Championship. We're like, oh, this was the worst loss I've ever experienced. And like the worst.
It's like first
that
time?
was easy.
First
38-7. That was easy. I'd much rather have that than 2009 or 2000. Well, 2000 was 41 donut, but like 98, like those are way harder to deal with than 38. The game was over at halftime.
It was just brutal. I don't even want to talk about it. That's why we're going to go to our next talker right now. And that is minicamp is done. You haven't been on for what, 2-3 weeks now? So
yeah, I've been filming a movie, had another kid. You're
on the Roman Reigns schedule. Oh yeah. See Adam in Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Some buff dude like warming up, and then it just cuts to Adam like, hey, I don't think I signed up for this.
Yeah. Is this for the podcast? I don't think this is for the podcast.
This is not for the podcast.
Yeah.
So minicamp, all that stuff. What is your hottest take right now? Because I feel like we haven't heard from you, in a while. What's on your mind? You can go Adam Patrick's 30 seconds of anger right now, and I wouldn't blame you. That was actually quick backstory while you think about that. But in college, I had a radio segment called Schad's 30 Seconds of Anger.
Oh.
And we would play CM Punk's like first theme, like
yeah.
This Fire by Kill Switch Engage. Yeah. And we would just have it in the background. And then it would be like, you have 30 seconds to rant about whatever's on your mind. So like once I like scream, and like I would literally scream at the top of my lungs for 30 seconds about like waffles. Like, I hate waffles. They're the worst. You know, I actually love waffles.
We should bring that back.
Yeah.
During the season.
It is. I will say this. It is tucked away in a box. It's like, you know, in like movies when they're like, don't hit the button, like, you know, like shit's getting real button. That's basically where it is. It's hidden in a box somewhere.
Well, it's like CM Punk, you know, he went away for 16 years or whatever and came back.
The Kill Switch Engage music hits and everybody's like, oh my God, here we go. Although we can't really play it on the YouTube because of copyright. We'll talk to people. Hottest mini can't take though. Go.
I don't know if it's too hot, but I'm gonna say I think the Vikings might actually commit to the run this year. As opposed to years past when they've been like, we're gonna get more physical and we're gonna ground and pound. And it's like 3 games later, they're like, yeah, we're gonna throw 50 times a game. So but this year with JJ McCarthy coming from a program at Michigan under Harbaugh that likes to run the ball. Obviously, that's a lot of his critiques. So he never threw the ball, blah, blah, blah. But to help a young quarterback out, as a person known as Dante Culpepper told me in an interview a few months ago, that a strong run game is like the absolute best thing that can help out a young quarterback, because you can do so many things in terms of relieve pressure on him, help him with play action, just so many different things. So I think Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason are going to be a fantastic team. And I think the re-signing of Josh Oliver, beefing up the interior of the offensive line are all just more signs that the Vikings are actually going to run the ball probably more than they ever have under Kevin O'Connell. Now, the bar is pretty low to clear for that, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, how many times have they ran the ball 30 times under Kevin O'Connell? I don't need to look it up, but it's got to be under 10. Like, it can't be that many. So I feel like running the ball is going to actually be a focus for the Vikings this next season.
And I don't think it's about volume, honestly. Like, I think it's about efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, Aaron Jones is a really good running back between the 20s, but when you get towards the goal line, he just can't get it, which is nothing against him. He's a terrific player, but that's one of his weaknesses.
They trade a guy now. He's so small.
And if he walked into this room, he'd be like, holy shit, this motherfucker's huge.
No, I don't know. I think he's one of the people you'd be like, you play football?
Yeah. I don't know. I guess if I
he's
ever
jacked, but he's like one.
Well, like all football players are jacked.
Well, yeah, not punters and not
like I remember Marcus Sherrills. Marcus Sherrills went to my high school. He graduated 1 year after I did. I remember passing that kid in chemistry class and like
5'6".
It always just I think he was 5'8", but it always just like replays in my mind. Like that kid was the greatest punt returner in Vikings history at 5'8". And some people may have been mad because I'm like, I don't think he could play corner at 5'8" in the NFL. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And there are 5'8" slot corners. So, I mean, shame on me, but hell of a punt returner. And the Vikings haven't had a good one since. So Marcus Sherrills, there's a shout out for you. Like he needs it or something. But no, I mean, Jordan Mason, like we're not going in here being like Alexander Madison is an RB1 because that was just like, that was like putting sunglasses on your dog and being like, look at him, he's here to party. Like that was so bad. It was historically bad. Like there's only 13 running backs in the merger that have had that many carries in a season and failed to score a touchdown like Alexander Madison did in rushing touchdown in 2023. And then you get Aaron Jones, who's a little bit better. And now you get Jordan Mason. When you talk about like big people, Jordan Mason is a big dude. Everything like there's your positive like vibes like or whatever. Like everybody's talked about how his legs are tree trunks and he's going to run people over. Like that's the kind of dude the Vikings have been missing in the backfield. And I love the fact that we're not just going to hitch our wagons to one dude like Aaron Jones and say, all right, go carry us. And we got Ty Chandler, who's basically, I wouldn't even call him Diet Aaron Jones. I'd call him like Diet Fago
Ontario
Cola dollar store generic pop.
Diet Jared McKinnon.
Diet. I wouldn't even go that far.
Yeah.
Like, Jarrett McKinnon was good.
He was good.
Yeah. Like Ty Chandler's not good.
Yeah.
I know he saved your fantasy team back in 2023 against the Bengals, but
Diet Alexander Madison.
I don't even know. He's just Ty Chandler.
He's just a diet. Yeah. He's I don't know if he's making the team. I don't know.
I think Jordan Mason will get double-digit touchdowns if he stays healthy.
Oh yeah. He's gonna get a lot of goal line carries.
And the other thing too with the running game is like JJ McCarthy can run. Not like, Dante Culpepper could when he's like 6'4", 265. But
he ran a 4.46 40.
Yeah.
Pretty fast for a quarterback.
I mean, if you're smart about running it and you're not like, torpedoing yourself into defenders, like you can do a running game.
You don't have to go full RG3 and like run an option, triple option that Washington tried when he was a rookie and just destroyed his knees.
Yes, that was not ideal. No. Not the ideal
Kirk
approach
Cousins
for a rookie quarterback. Kirk Cousins, who's still in a broom closet in Atlanta. Somebody save me. I wish I had a hottest Viking take, but I can't really prepare it.
Is the backup quarterback on the roster? I'll give you that.
Is the backup quarterback on the roster? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've heard, well, his arm strength isn't great or whatever. I mean, he's got 3 preseason games to win the job. So,
you're talking
Sam
about
Howell.
Sam Howell?
Yeah. I don't think it's Max Rosemer. Brett Rippon. I forgot about him. Yeah.
He's a player coach.
He's the Sean Mannion of the group now.
Yeah.
Which is like an actual position that most teams have. Just you're never going to play, but we'll put you on the practice squad.
He's got a spot on the practice squad just like locked in.
Good in the room. Good in the room.
Sometimes you need that. If Kevin O'Connell thinks he needs that type of player, I am not going to be someone to judge Kevin O'Connell when it comes to quarterbacks because he's done pretty well.
It's like my hot take is like with all the other teams in the NFC right now, like Detroit's just annoying.
Why? Like, are they annoying or are their fans annoying?
Their fans are annoying. I love me some Dan Campbell. I think Dan Campbell's great. Like I enjoy, listening. And he seems like a very cool dude. Like if you just sat down and talked football with him, like he just shoot, have a couple beers with you and shoot the shit. Yeah. But like their fans, like
I think Jared Goff is going to become likable too after quarterback this summer.
Yes. Will he'll be the Kirk Cousins according.
Kirk Cousins is going to be on there.
Oh God. Kirk Cousins version 2 on quarterback.
Yeah,
it's just like him, like a ransom video. Like, get me out of here! I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up. It's two big dudes in like Falcons shirts, just carry him away.
It does look a lot more of a serious version of Kirk Cousins than we saw in the previous version of quarterback. It's like even his wife's like there was like a tense clip or whatever they showed of his wife talking and like, ooh, this is gonna be good. Then you got Joe Burrow, of course.
He had to go in on a Tuesday.
July 7th, I think it comes out. So next.
So we're almost there. Oh, I could. Well, now I got a decision to make because I could either binge the entire show like psychos do and post it all online, or I could smash. College Football 26 comes out at 11 a.m. on Monday.
Oh wow.
So, I mean, I could just smash the hell out of that.
Why can't they have it come out? They should have it come out on Thursday. A lot of people are off Thursday. They could play the whole weekend.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
What?
Like it's a holiday weekend. Drop it tonight.
Yeah.
And then just let us, I guess, most people will be watching this on Friday because that's when the episode is going to drop. But like drop it on Thursday. And then people who don't have anything to do for the 4th, they can just board up the windows and go take Delaware to the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Even if they did have stuff to do, they could bring it with them to play wherever they're camping or hanging out probably.
I remember last year, my coworker was actually telling, he's like, I went to the cabin. He's like, all I could think about is that game. Like, because it came out like the following week. And he's like, I was just sitting there and I'm just like, damn, like, I need that game.
Now
like,
they've got, did they have the transfer portal in the first one?
They did, but like now they're beefing it up where people will actually transfer. Like you could just do on the first one, you could just do proximity to home and they never ever transfer, and then you could just load everything up. But I guess now like they're gonna have dynamic deal breakers. So like if they're buried behind two studs, they're gonna be like, I'm gonna go transfer somewhere else.
Drew Rosenhaus makes an appearance. Like, oh.
They're making a college basketball game too.
I saw that.
And somebody had a post where it's like, oh, the St. John's my player, and it's like in the middle of a strip club. Incredible. Well, with all that in mind, I might as well ask you what's going on at the Viking Age and your new website, which you're helping out with, Under the Laces.
Well, first I'll tell you about Under the Laces, which is it's a new site from the FanSided network. That we just launched a couple weeks ago, focusing on athlete lifestyle, kind of just stuff that athletes are doing off the field, cover everything from NFL, NBA, WNBA, everything. Like, well, we've written about Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld's wedding. We've written about Brittany Mahomes. We've written about Caitlin Clark's shoes. We wrote about Adrian Peterson getting into a fight at a poker game.
Did you write about Sophie Cunningham challenging the city of Detroit to a fist fight? Or
we did.
Yeah. Now Dan Skipper has weighed in like, Detroit's a fun place to play, but not for you.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about my city that way. Nobody.
Dan Skipper, diehard Detroiter. And I think it was getting lost on all of that to just weigh in is she said that she thinks WNBA players should be excited to play, where their teams are. And she's like, I don't know how many WNBA players are going to be excited to play in Detroit or Cleveland. And she's not wrong. Like, would you rather play in Miami or LA or anywhere else? But yeah, go check out Under the Laces. It's pretty cool. I've read about a lot of different stuff. I've written about Rhea Ripley. We're writing something about the WWE getting 3 pay-per-view events and not pay-per-view, I guess, PLEs in Saudi Arabia next year. So lots of different stuff, lots of different angles, and just it's been a lot of fun, interesting thing to do. But I will be back soon running the VikingAge.com, which there's still a good group over there, Adam Carlson and a bunch of other people running that ship. So go check that out at the Viking Age as well. I'm sure we'll be writing about Kirk Cousins' appearance on quarterback next week for sure.
And of course, you can check out my work over at zonecoverage.com. That's where I do all my Vikings work. Right now, I'm just July's really hard for content. So like second level content.
Lists.
So yeah, well, I do, I go down like rabbit holes, like what if. So like I wrote about like, what if Dennis Green never calls Randall Cunningham in 1997? Like
the knee. Oh, what if he didn't call him at all?
Yeah, what if he didn't call him? And, they don't win the playoff game. Does Dennis Green get fired? Does Randy Moss come to Minnesota?
To get fired if they didn't beat the Giants.
Exactly, yeah. So it's this whole like time warp effect. Right now, I'm working on an article like, what if they took Javon Curse instead of Dante Culpepper in 1999? Ooh. Would the Vikings have won a Super Bowl because his first 3 years were very, very good, but the rest of his career not so much.
Cunningham wasn't good though.
What's that?
But Cunningham wasn't good 99, so.
Go read the article, but I will say I think that
they get flustered
having
by
him on the team
Culpepper.
And on 1998, like even though he kind of flamed out after a year, that bought Dennis Green enough time to draft Randy Moss and then Dante Culpepper. And they spawned a lot of the current generation of Vikings fans because before then, the Vikings were like afterthoughts, kind of like people love the Vikings, but like
Warren Moon
games at the Metrodome were going to get blacked out, and they're doing the whole quarterback carousel thing with Warren Moon, like you said. So yeah, that is kind of, I mean, you're a Viking fan because of Randy Moss. So like, if Randy Moss goes to,
a lot of people are,
if Randy Moss goes to
Dallas,
the Cowboys, like, are you doing what is it? The Landry hat?
I probably would have been a Broncos fan, probably, because that's
Probably
what my
would
dad
have
roots
taken
for.
up soccer.
I did play soccer, so
Open wide for some soccer. That's what I always say. But yes, zonecoverage.com. I also got Twins and Wild Stuff. Wild Stuff is at Hockey Wilderness. You can check out the FanSided RBN network if you want to keep up with everything going on around the NFC North. That's Dairyland Express. That's the Windy City. That's Detroit Jock City. Yes, I write about other teams. No need to freak out. That was another comment I thought about featuring, and I was just like, no,
you phony.
You fraud. Listen up, you balding fraud.
Yeah. No, nobody's ever covered more than one team before in their life.
Never.
In the same division.
In my hustle, oos. Anyway, this is the Viking Age podcast. It's the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. I am Chris Schad at The Real Chris Schad. He is Adam Patrick at Adam Patrick NFL. And we do this every week right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel and in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.